Watch the ride.
Hey everybody, forgive me for doing this off bike, but it actually makes more sense and you'll see why. Over the years that I've been making videos on YouTube on motorcycles and making videos to help new riders get onto their first bike or onto their first big bike, there seems to be a lot of confusion and misinformation about the UK licences. I want to try and clarify this in the shortest and simplest way I can, so this is a video for reference for people who want a verbal explanation of what the licences are with enough information to understand it. I'm going to give you a brief explanation of each licence and then I'm going to explain progression through those licences and the differences depending on what age you did them, because it will make a difference. So we can start at the very beginning, where it's not really a licence, it's a compulsory basic training day, and it's a 8-hour course which you do with a motorcycle school, and people say it is not a test, you cannot fail it, but you cannot be awarded it, and if at the end of the day you can or cannot be awarded it, that is to me no difference from pass or fail. Only difference being with some fails in the higher licence levels, you have to give so many days before you can retake it. As I understand it with the CBT, you can take it again as soon as you like. It lasts for 2 years, and then when it runs out you need to do it again. It costs about between £80 and £120 depending on who you go to. As I say, it's an 8-hour day. If you want a full explanation of the CBT and what to expect, I have a video on that, and you can find a link to that in the description. But as a simple explanation, at 16 years old, the first age that you can ride anything on the UK roads, other than a push bike, is the CBT. And at 16 years old, you can get yourself a 50cc moped or motorbike. It can be geared or auto, and that can be a maximum, say, of 50ccs, and it can go no more than 28 miles an hour. Some of these will go faster than that with the restrictions. It's a bit of an iffy ground, I don't know exactly how that's all working, but technically you're not supposed to do more than 28 miles an hour, even though we know lots of these mopeds do. So that's what you can do at 16. At 17, you can automatically, if you've got your CBT at 16, when you turn 17, you can automatically get a 125cc bike, which is a maximum of 11 kilowatts, which is about 15 brake horsepower, and it can have a power to weight ratio of no more than 0.1 kilowatt per kilo. It doesn't matter if you pass on a geared bike or on an auto. When you turn 17, you just literally, if you've passed on a 50cc ped, you can go straight once your 17th birthday onto your 125cc geared bike. There is no requirements like with the car licences, where if you take it with an auto you can only drive an auto. It's whatever. There are some possible changes coming to the CBT, and I have a video talking about that. At the moment we don't know, because we don't know when they're going to come in, and we also don't know if we're going to have what relationship we're going to have with the EU as to whether we're going to get those rules or not. But there is a video there if you want to go and watch that and see a bit more information about that. So as I say, that has to be repeated every 2 years. You also can't go on motorways, and you also can't take pillions. If you want to go on motorways or take pillions, then what you need to do is get yourself an A1 licence. You can get the A1 licence at 17. For this, you need to do a theory test, unlike the CBT. You then have to do a CBT, then you do Mod 1 and Mod 2. It's basically the same structure as direct access, which I'll get to later. But what this allows you to do is ride 125cc's. You don't have to have an L plate, you can take pillions and you can go on the motorway, and you don't need to take any more licences, it won't run out. That is your licence. I don't know exactly how much these cost, but I believe charges are quite similar to the other licence levels, because it's basically the same thing done again. So if you don't want to progress beyond a 125cc, you can stick at A1 forever. If you do want something bigger than a 125cc, then you're going to need to get a A2 licence. Now, you can get your A2 licence directly at the age of 19. That being exactly the same theory test, CBT, Mod 1, Mod 2, and then your training days in between. It will be over about 2 weeks if you do it that way. Sometimes you can get it crammed into a few days, but depending on bookings and stuff, you'll find out your timescale. Now, the A2 licence allows you to ride standard motorcycles up to 35 kilowatts and a power to weight ratio no more than 0.2 kilowatts per kilo. I must clarify here, I don't know if that's the up-to-date number, the one that's just been updated, or whether it is going to be updated from that, because they're going to change the power to weight ratio stuff and the curb weight on the A2 bikes that you have to pass on. But as I say, this will allow you to ride any motorcycle with 35 kilowatts, or if it's been restricted to 35 kilowatts, and you get that done through, it can be done with a physical manual thing that's put in the throttle to stop it. There can be restrictors, and there can also be electric restrictors, so it depends on the bike that you go for. If you take your A2 when you're 19, When you're 21, 2 years later, you'll be allowed to take your full A licence. Normally, if you wanted to get a full A licence and you hadn't taken the A2, you have to be 24. So a way of jumping 2 years is by getting the intermediary A2 licence. So the full A licence, this one allows you to ride anything of any power, completely unrestricted, wherever, with whoever on the bike. It's completely unrestricted, it's your full licence. Now there's two ways of getting this licence. If you're 24, you can do a thing called DAS, or direct access. Now that means you just go theory, CBT, Mod 1, Mod 2. If you pass all those, you are now allowed to ride whatever you like. Now, as I say, if you've taken your A2 at 19, at 21 what you can do is do your Mod 1 and Mod 2 for your full A licence, which will allow you to ride any bike unrestricted, like someone who's done direct access at the age of 24. So the A2 is a way of getting a full bike, a full-sized bike, 2 years earlier than otherwise. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the progression of how you get your licence, or what you can get depending on your age. Hopefully this will make it easier to understand. So at 16 and 17 you can have, remember at 16, 50cc maximum, 17, 125cc maximum. Alternatively at 17 you can get that A1 licence, which will go on forever. That's an everlasting licence. The next option, the A2, you can do that at 19. So this is where I would give some advice. If you're someone who is looking to go through the stages, you want the biggest bike you can get as soon as you can get it, I would advise this to people anyway. Don't go for a 50cc moped. I have a video on that as well. I'm going to put loads of videos in the bottom. I'll put the titles there so you can see what they're about. But 50cc peds on the roads are not particularly safe. They serve a job well, but depending on the roads you're on, they're not that safe necessarily. As I say, it's no hatred of 50cc's. I actually like them. I think they're fun, but the roads, they're not really up to it, and a lot of people actually agree, mostly the people who ride them. There is another reason why you might want to wait, but you also might want to wait till you're about 17 and a half, and there is a reason for this. The CBT, as I say, only lasts for 2 years, so if you do it at 16, 17, 18, it runs out. You can't do your A2 until you're 19, so you're going to have to do a CBT here, which means it will last for 1 year, and then it's valid for when you do your A2. But you've had to do 2 CBTs. If you wait till you're, say, 17 and a half, this means that it will last for 2 years, which means it will run out when you're 19 and a half. Or you can even do it by a week if you're really, well, you know, a month, let's say. So if you wait till you're 17 and a half to take your CBT, at 19 and a half, before it runs out, you can take your A2 and use it as your existing. So that way you'll only do 1 CBT before you do your A2, and it will still be valid for your A2 when you do it. So I know it's annoying to wait till you're 17 and a half, but in my mind that's the best progression rate. It also saves you money, because if you get 50cc and then you can get 125, you're going to have bought all this stuff and now you're going to want to get a 125. It's just easier to just go, you know, 125 for a couple of years and then go into your A2. Only 1 CBT, it makes more sense to do it that way, although you do have to wait. If you're 24, you can just go, boom, A licence, theory test, CBT, Mod 1, Mod 2. And you're all straight onto anything you want. That's at 24, as I say. Well, if you've got an A2 at 19, you now, 2 years after you start this, can do your A, which means you can do your A at what would be 21 and a half, wouldn't it? So you've brought yourself down a year and a half, 2 years, whatever, depending how you do it, to get your full licence. And that's basically it. It's not too confusing. As I say, that 17 and a half thing will be the quickest and most cost-effective route of getting to your A2 if you want to go there. Alternatively, what a lot of people do is do their CBT at this age, keep riding 125s until they get to 24 and take that. So it's just CBT, 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 and then you do your A licence because you have to retake them. But that's actually the way that I did it, and I was on a CBT for, well, I did 4 of them. So I was on it for 7 years and I had a year left, and that's when I did my full licence. Okay, well hopefully that's explained it enough for you to understand. As I say, I have loads of videos talking in depth about loads of different aspects about the licenses, from what happened in the past, the way that things were, whether they should be the way they are, explaining why things are the way they are, because a lot of people disagree with things like you can't get a 1000cc bike until you're 24 or 21, sorry. They think that, like with a car at 17, you should be allowed to just go straight to 1000cc. My opinion is that is a terrible idea. People also complain about the fact that when you used to do your A2 licence, automatically once you'd had that for 2 years, you got your A licence without having to test again. Equally, I can understand, to someone who rides all the time for that 2 years, that would be very annoying. Someone who doesn't use their licence at all for that 2 years, and then put onto 1000cc, that's a little bit, you know. But as I say, these are all things which are talked about in depth. If you want to talk about any of those things, discuss them, tell me I'm wrong. There are videos for that, and it's a much better place to put that conversation with that argument rather than this is just explaining this. And hopefully, I'm sure there'll be comments, questions of things that people want clarifying, but I hope I've done a good enough job that you understand it better now, if you're from the UK or not. So thank you very much for watching. If you found this video useful, please consider supporting this channel. There are ways to do that, links in the description. Equally, if you'd like to leave a like, maybe even share the video with some people, it might help. Or when someone asks this question, refer them back to this video, so because this is an easy explanation, I hope. That would be great. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do that too. Check out the playlists and the videos in the description. And I'll catch you next time. Ride safe. If you enjoyed this video and the other content on the channel, please consider following the links in the description to show your support.